I just wanna start this off by saying that I just became a fan of Numberjacks, so don't come raving to me about not knowing any of the episodes' names and whatnot. I was recently sent this peculiar Numberjacks DVD by a sketchy friend of mine, named Lucky Roll Cake Cookie 10, on Discord. We were in a Numberjacks server, because, as I said, I was becoming a fan of that show. About 2 days later, the DVD arrived in my mailbox. The front of the disc was painted purple, and on the top, it read, in facepalm-worthy text, Numberjacks. My best guess is that LRC-10 attempted to make disc art for the DVD before sending it to me, but didn't have time to finish it. As much as I cringed over that disc art, what I really wanted to see was the contents of the disc. I inserted the disc into my computer. I have a DVD/VCR combo. But it wasn't hooked up to my TV. It took a while to load, probably because of that damn paint, but it eventually started. There was no menu, as expected, but it did have the intro. Though it was obviously ripped from YouTube, again, it was expected because my Discord friend made this. I was expecting the DVD to just contain a bunch of random episodes, but as the intro ended, I was confused to see a time code appear on the bottom, and what appeared to be a storyboard animation as the main feature. The storyboard began with Numberjack 0 standing on a wooden floor. There was no sound, nor was there music. 0 was just staring at the screen, not talking or moving. After a couple seconds, the screen flickered black with a white number 0, not the character, the actual number, in the same spot as Numberjack 0. Before immediately cutting back to the previous shot with the character. The camera was subtly zooming in on 0. I caught a few frames of a still of Numberjack 6. The image looked as if it was saturated to the max. Not to mention, the image of 6 was triplicate. I could tell where this was going. It cut back to 0. There was no sound, but at some point, a voice cut in. It was very faint, and it sounded like it was echoing through a tunnel, but I could hear it. Nothing. It said, "Matters." The screen went completely black as the voice faded out. It then cut to sped-up footage of a clock moving from the first hour to the 12th. It wasn't in storyboard style, it was actual live-action footage. After the hour hand hit 12, it cut to black again. But I could hear a low-pitched sine wave tone. It was so faint that I barely caught it in the corner of my hearing, but it was there. It was a low-pitched repeating tone. I waited for something to happen, and sure enough, something did. It was rather screwed up to say the least. I saw Numberjack 4, hanging from the ceiling. His mouth was gaping open, while his pupils were in a cartoony X shape. He was also contorting in a way that was clearly uncomfortable for him, while his body remained still otherwise. It wasn't long before he passed out and fell to the floor. Except he didn't just simply fall. Instead, he melted and oozed onto the floor into a blue puddle, while his eyes were rolling around in the puddle of the now melted 4. The voice came back after a few seconds. But it was distorted and sounded manic. 4 hours, until the reset. The screen turned black again, but the tone continued. It went back to the image of 0 standing on the wooden floor and staring at the viewer. It began to do that weird thing again with the screen flickering black with a regular 0, except it was much more frequent and easier to catch. I had been captivated by this weirdo storyboard for the last few minutes, but the voice came back after only a few more seconds. 3 hours. 2 hours. 1 hour. The white 0 on the black background appeared once more, except it stayed on the screen for more than just a couple frames. It then went to black once again, and stayed like that, long enough for me to think it finally ended. It didn't end. Not until I was greeted with a bunch of photoshopped images of the Numberjacks characters with a piercing screech polluting my speakers. I then saw a shot of 0 zooming in and out from that shot of him on the wooden floor. The next shot was of the Numberjacks 0 through 9 in a row. Except they were all in CGI like the actual series, unfinished of course. The Numberjacks were in the same font as the numbers on the clock. 0 was barely visible. He was mostly just a shadow with two glowing white eyes. The song, Les Marionettes, by Zbigniew Preisner began playing as the image began to melt. 0, however, was the only one not melting with the image. He was left as a solitary black speck on a white background. The music then began to increase in tempo and volume until it was at maximum volume, before becoming distorted and cutting out. The image inverted colors before cutting to black. I heard what sounded like a low-pitched music box playing with a pulse stretch effect. This happened for about 10 seconds, until I heard some disembodied voice, something right out of dining room or there is nothing, that said. The hourglass has, stopped dot. After that was said. A piece of Korean text, which I had no idea what it said, appeared briefly before switching to the Decode Entertainment logo. The music in the logo was, "It's Just a Burning Memory," by The Caretaker. Afterwards, the Playhouse Disney logo played before it finally cut to black for the last time. This unexplainable experience had finally ended. I was dazed and confused. My limbs were weak, and I felt like I had just gone 2 rounds with Floyd Mayweather Jr. I was also on the verge of passing out. I drank some milk right out of the carton. Then sat on the living room sofa to digest what the hell I just watched. Where the hell did my friend find this, and how did he? I went on Discord to talk to my friend on how he got the episode. However, I was annoyed to see that he left the Numberjacks server I was in. Now I was left without any answer to what I just saw. I had to admit, I also felt a bit creeped out. It was like I was on the edge of my seat, waiting for the next scene to begin, except no scene was coming. I was beginning to wonder that I was having a daydream of some sorts. I was also beginning to wonder if I was sick. I wasn't feeling all that well. I also looked over at the clock on the wall. It wasn't moving. While looking at the clock, I began to realize something. It was the same clock from the video. I knew something had happened. And I was having some sort of psychotic episode. All of this made perfect sense. Everything was beginning to connect like a puzzle. The clock was ticking down to my fate. The zeros meant that there is nothing on the other side of life. The Numberjacks were a countdown to my death.